Oh, I should have coffee.
Steve, episode 24 of the Broadway block. 2-2 record so far in the preseason. What are you liking about the Rangers? What are you not liking?
So both performances where we had pretty big blowout losses were pretty disturbing. I don't think it was easy to watch. It wasn't fun to watch. So there's that. The game we won, obviously very fun to watch, and looking forward to what we can break out of this. Maybe some good line combinations come out of this, and what you and I were talking about before this started was the potential of like a breakout season. It looks like for maybe Lav and Kako. What did you like about it?
Well, I like that I see a little more grit out there. Um I like the lineups for the defense. Uh Either way, we were talking about either having, they're making their final cuts and either Niles Lundqvist or Zach Jones. It's a good place to be in because, good team would take either one of them. It's good to have that as a backup in the uh, Hartford, defensive prospect to bring up for everybody. Obviously, I like that last stealing goal, but there was also there's a lot of grit to watch. I think we talked previously before we started this that it's a little red flag about Igor. He's let in a lot of goals and he hasn't really had a strong showing. And you got to think this isn't against everybody's best lines, so that's a little worrisome. And also, first night against the Islanders, Georgiev got lit up. Anybody who watches this, me and Steve are always like, Georgiev's got the Islanders numbers. They had a Clutterbuck, Cizikas, Johnston, Nelson goal, so it was like a regular game for them, and he got lit up. So that's a little worry. What worries you most about the Rangers right now, Steve?
Yeah, the goalie thing is probably where my head's at. It seems like once they get some momentum behind them, and Igor's had those stretches where he's clearly an NHL goalie. So let's hope that this is just the preseason jitters. And my friend just reminded me that the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors went 0-4 in the preseason when they went 73-9 for the actual season. So let's hope this has got nothing to do with the regular season. Some things that were a little odd. I mean, Truba kind of looks like not 100%. I don't know. Again, it could just be preseason, but I'd like to see him kind of owning that, especially because there's talk about him like maybe being a candidate for captain. I just don't know if I'm ready to really put all my eggs in that basket. Although it's hard not to look like a number one defenseman around Adam Fox because for the 5 minutes of ice time I got to watch him play, man, it was electric. So that was cool. And I'm getting those Adam Fox vibes from Zach Jones and from Niels Lundqvist. I think that if I think both of them will see ice time this year. I think Niels beats Jones for the last roster spot, and I think that the two of them being able to play around a guy like Fox, especially how closely their games sort of are relative, would be a fun thing to watch.
Another point I wanted to note, like, it looks like Miller has Keandre Miller. He had a couple injuries last year. He had a good season. He looks like he's stepped up his game. He's a little more tough. He knows where he wants to be on the ice. He knows where he wants the puck to go. He's winning some stuff in the neutral zone. But bringing up the neutral zone looked like a common theme in all games that the other team just wanted it more in the neutral zone, or we didn't know how to clear the puck and it would get stuck in there. The other team will be the first one across the line. So that was a little worrisome, but I'm chalking it up to we got a lot of new faces. Gallant's obviously a new guy in there. Jury's back there. So I'm hoping, we work some of these things out. Doesn't help us being in the Metropolitan, but it's a good way to judge yourself right away because there's not going to be easy games. Like it's going to be tough games night in, night out. Like, and we're not playing the same 6 or 7 teams like we did last year again. So we'll definitely be seeing a lot more of the NHL. So could be good for us, could be bad.
Yeah, and I mean we placed teams like Seattle in like the first few games, so it'd be interested to see not only how we fare against teams that who knows how they're going to do. A lot of things have changed, a lot of divisional shakeups, but just to see us playing against maybe there's a few extra wins that's happened this year where we face a team that plays a completely different style because you are correct. It was a little monotonous, especially a lot of the games were back-to-back games. So that plays into, you know, the schedule being tiresome because you play, when you get a rematch fight, something about the opponent, So it is a little bit more of a regular vibe this season. So hopefully the schedule changes I mean, everyone's on an equal playing field in that regard, but I do think that favors the Rangers being in such a tight division for sure. And then the divisions being restructured so that it's not such hopefully a competitive spot for that last fourth playoff spot, which would be the spot that we're entertaining. But when you host a guy like Panarin with the top three NHL
He looked good.
numbers,
He looked good in the
he,
Boston game.
there were things I think major takeaways from that. Kako is going to be the beneficiary if he can play to that role
Of
of.
the Buchnevich trade.
Well, one of the things that I remember liking so much about Panarin playing with Fox or Fost rather, was always willing to go to the dirty areas and scoop up those pucks and be a real puck supporter for a guy like Panarin, who if you can get it back to him is obviously, lethal. So Kako, ironically, his strengths are along the boards. If you ever watch him in, 2-on-1 battles, those quick pivots and getting loose, but that mentality is always to get back to the net because I feel like he's always had to put the whole game on his stick. Utilizing a guy, a trigger man like Panarin, who can kind of, be elusive and kind of separate himself away from the defense. If Kako can keep up that strong board work and maybe work it over to a playmaker like Strome, that's going to be a really fun line to watch. And it's not even the top line technically. So that's an interesting, I think, thing to keep a note on. And also, how long of a leash does Kako get? Is it more than maybe a 3 or 4 game thing that Quinn maybe would have already pulled him off of that assignment? Gallant has already mentioned that he's the kind of guy that like sticks to a line and lets it rock. So let's hope that any preseason, sauce that they've had. I mean, they've actually looked pretty good together.
What about
Turns
Laugh?
itself
Laugh
into
looks
some.
like I heard that Laugh was working out a lot in the off season. He got a lot stronger. He said a little bit of weight on him. So I'm really excited to see. I think the Bars obviously said hi, always being a number one pick, but I gotta think he's gonna hit a lot of the numbers. What do you think? 50-goal season?
50 points would be great. I think 60 points would be
I
also
know
great,
dreamers got a dream. I gotta put it
yeah.
out there in the world. So like, if he gets 25, I'm like, all right, you got halfway to Joe's goal.
Look, I think that there's some things that we can guarantee. Fox is going to play another great season, and when you have one of the best, if not, let's call him the best because he won the trophy, but one of the best defensemen in the league, and you got a guy like Panarin who's top 3 in scoring since coming to the Rangers. So I think you're always going to get a shot. A
So we were mentioning
lot
it
of it is
too.
going to be.
Zibanejad coming back after the COVID hit him, and he looked like a completely different person while he was out there trying to recover from it. I think he's going to put up big numbers this year, Mika. So like, I love that Swedish connection from Niles Lundqvist to him for on that apple. That was the only like shining point of the Devils game there. I think that nasty wrister from the left side. It's great, but we got a lot of question marks. We got a lot to work out. We got 2 games left against the Islanders and the Devils. So I think it's a good rematch to be like, let's show that we actually have a pulse against these direct rivals of us. Like, what are you looking forward to in the next game? Or what? Here's a better question. What would be your expectations if you were Gallant that you expected out of the team the next game against the Devs?
Just to come out hard. I mean, I feel like that's his one message that he is preached and that like he has spoken about it is no different than anyone else in the league. Just to not let people walk all over you. And I think having those real identified lines, I really like Blay. I'm sorry to say it. I know that there's a lot of people that are always going to compare him to Buchnevich, and you honestly shouldn't. But he's definitely a much better player than we've had on that role specifically in a really long time, registering 15 hits across 2 games is going to compute to a lot of hits over 82 game schedule. And honestly, I don't know if you noticed this when you were watching them play, but when I say they, I mean Reeves and Blay out there specifically,
They
they
got
kept the puck
chemistry.
in the offensive zone. They knew when to hit each other. One of them was in the middle of the ice, one of them was along the boards, and it was really fun to see the defense do exactly what Reeves said. Look up the ice before they had to make a play, because that little bit of hesitation is going to be a big deal when now this team has been on the ice for a little while. You get a line change, and now you have fresh players out there that can really take advantage, because it's not always going to be those fourth line goals, but it's going to be the opportunities that this fourth line creates for Gallant to confidently roll that way. And I
Some
feel
teams'
some
fourth
major,
lines were better than their regular team. Look at the Islanders last year. I think
yeah,
they
and
had a higher production than their first line.
I think we need it. I think we need the identity, and I think that you're going to see a lot of positivity where upon watching the replay, the goal is really started by that fourth line doing exactly.
Steve, you froze on us, but I think you're 100% right about Sammy Blay in that fourth line.
What they said. Yeah. Anyway, if it can trickle up to the third, that'd be solid. But
Definitely. You cut out there for a little bit, but we knew what you were getting at with that fourth line and trickle up to the third and keep getting the production. Because here's the thing, as a player, if you're not really you're on that second and first line, and let's just say things aren't clicking, and obviously expectations are high, and you see that third or fourth line out there grinding, you know those guys are behind you. They want that spot just like anybody. It's a team sport, but there's a competitive aspect between people. And I think it's great when you have a fourth line that can, hit, get chemistry in front of the net, know where each other are, and, really give some of the main guys a break on the ice.
well, I am very eager to watch. I feel like it's going to be another sort of not disjointed, but a little bit of chemistry building and seeing where people end up. Also, maybe Kreider or Laugh playing the off wing, but interested to see how the lines break out other than the obvious, and looking forward to wrapping up some hockey games with you, man.
I cannot wait for that opening night. Cannot wait. And I'm interested to see, do we name a captain? How's that pan out? I think they ruled out Laugh on the right, but I think Craig's going to give it a try, obviously, so that should be interesting. Last note before we let you go, do you think they name a captain this year? And if you do, who do you think they name?
I don't know who I'd pick, man. I get major captain vibes from Kreider right now. He seems to really embrace that role, and just how, he's fluent in multiple languages. He's, just his vernacular in general, the way he conducts himself. I think he's really grown out of that kind of like, snarky, snidey player that plays with an edge, and more of a physical, knowing his strengths leader. And to see him in there in the training facility while they're, practicing, I feel like there's a lot of signs that point him towards it. But I wouldn't be upset to watch a guy like Adam Fox take it and wear it for a much longer time.
Here's the thing. We remember Adam Fox, he jumped around before he ever played an NHL game. So it's not like you're giving it to guy who's only like, 18, 19. So I could see Adam Fox if he comes up and puts out dominant numbers again. Maybe they name it midseason for Adam Fox. I'd
Do you
actually love
think
that.
do you think that we don't have one on opening night?
Yeah, right. Currently, right now, I think there's just too many question marks, and that just adds another question mark to the team being like, why'd they choose that guy? Obviously, I don't know if you heard Panarin was asked, would he ever want to be captain? And he's like, no, that's just not the type of player I am. Like, he's like, my English isn't as good as I want to be. And that's a person who's like another coach out there. So he wants to just come on the ice and do his thing. So obviously he wouldn't get hurt by it. Would Mika take offense by it? I don't really see anyone else besides Kreider or Truba, really in that leadership role like that who's been around that long. But so I think you don't name it. And I think if somebody really steps up, like an Adam Fox or something like that, then you name him mid-season. I don't think, what's it? We're coming up on, is it year 3 without a captain?
Well, here's the other thing. You need a guy like Fox who's a horse. He's plays 25 minutes a game. He's out there for the big minutes. And you're talking somebody who's going to go out there and take it upon themselves to make a difference in that game. He has very like, leech like tendencies where maybe he's not that vocal dude, but he can go out there and just put the damn thing on the net, in the net, do
His play
whatever's
speaks
necessary.
for him. So
Yeah. I feel like he would be someone also that you can like, look forward to growing into that role and growing with the team as opposed to somebody maybe like, Kreider's still, 30, but who knows how long he's going to be able to, really
if he
don
has
that
a
role
bad
for us.
injury, like at that kind of age, like, it's hard to come back from something like that. So I don't know. Do you
Well,
want
man,
to link yourself for only 1 or 2 years to Kreiner? That's
we're gonna have to wait to see what happens. He
we'll
wouldn't
have to
be a
see.
bad bridge between, there's
Yeah.
that. But
All right, Steve. Well, episode 24 comes to an end. Thanks for your time, Steve.
thanks, buddy. Let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.